Good Sunday morning, everybody. This is Midday Sunday. We are thrilled to be able to welcome back Jamie Court. Jamie Court has the organization was originally called Taxpayers.
So that's why we changed the name. It was originally called the Foundation for Taxpayer and Consumer Rights.
And now it's just simply
Consumer Watchdog.
Excellent. Jamie is the president of Consumer Watchdog. Way back in the history is Harvey Rosenfield, who with Proposition 103.
And is still with us.
And is still with us.
Yeah.
So you have this book. You have this new book. I think we've got a graphic of it. Raising the Progressive's Guide to Raising Hell: How to Win Grassroots Campaigns, Pass Ballot Box Laws, and Get the Change We Voted For. A direct democracy toolkit. I stumble over that because it's something that I'm not sure we get to do anymore. Why the book?
Well, you know, people are angry. And it's not just the Tea Party people who are angry, it's also the progressives who are angry. And they're angry at their president, who didn't deliver the change they necessarily wanted. It seems like everybody's angry at the president. They're angry because there aren't enough jobs. But what they don't realize, I think, when people are angry at politics, is that public opinion is the most powerful force in the world. It's the most powerful force in politics. And when there is public outrage, it can be leveraged for change, if you know how to do it. And I think we have an unprecedented opportunity to do that now.
Is that what the Tea Party people are doing?
I think the Tea Party people aren't doing that. I think the Tea Party people are capitalizing on anger, but they don't really have answers. I think behind the Tea Party people, they're trying to change elections. They're trying to change the balance of power, but they don't have really, a platform by which, after they change the balance of power, what's going to come next. And I think President Obama promised people who are Democrats, people who are independents, and some Republicans who voted for him too, that he would have change on some very strong issue areas where we had 60-70% agreement. We needed affordable, quality health care. That's 70% of the public agrees with that. We needed cheaper prescription drugs. We needed something to rein in the oil companies. We needed something to rein in Wall Street. And today, people don't believe that's happened, even though legislation has been passed. But there's a way to make those demands that we had in that 2008 election, that was answered by that election, real, and to get some of the change we were promised. A lot of it now comes back to the state level, to the state ballot measure process, to the state legislature, to fix some of the problems with health insurance reform and push them a little further. But the point is, the public doesn't realize, I think, what power it has, public opinion, to change the world. And the internet, social media, the explosion of that revolution gives anyone who's really outraged about a problem the ability to expose that problem, confront that problem, and create real change. And in the book, I try to talk about our successes, the battles we've had, and use that to take out some simple rules and principles by which just anybody at their own computer who gets pissed off enough about something can create change.
The anger that's out there in the country, we all feel it, regardless of what our political bent may be. Justified?
Oh, yeah. I think it's real. There's a betrayal by politicians in the political process. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you feel it. There's cash register politics that dominates. It dominates in Washington. Right now, we have the legislature closed, bills on the governor's desk. And just this very last week, as the legislature was closing, we saw a lot of cash register politics in action again. And every time I see it, it sickens me. I start the book by saying I hate politicians and I hate the cash register politics that goes on. And this is an alternative. The book is really about how the people can demand change and must demand change. In fact, FDR during the Great Depression,
Franklin Delano
Roosevelt, for those who may not know their history, was visited by a civil rights leader, A. Philip Randolph, and FDR listened to him. He said, "I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. Now make me do it." Well, now it's time for us to make the president and the politicians do it.
If someone goes out and buys the book, let's say they buy it, it's on sale, I guess.
It's on sale now via Amazon, and it should be in bookstores everywhere very soon.
So I go out and buy this book, and I urge 25 of my closest friends to go out and buy the book as well. We all agree. We agree on a project, and I know this may sound like a silly question, but how soon can we begin to see results if we really put our nose to the grindstone?
I think the tactics work, but what you have to realize is windows of opportunities open and close. If you can recognize them, and you're in a window of opportunity, and you have what we would call something that's very sticky, something you want to change, the moment is right, you have a human story to tell of an outrage, and you go on the internet and you create the perfect Facebook page. Let's say you don't like the Tea Party, you want to create the Coffee Party. And you say, look, we're for government, but we want government to represent our collective will. We don't like the fact that the Tea Party wants to get rid of government. We want to make government work. And we're progressives. You create a Facebook page. Well, pretty quickly, you could have 100,000 friends join you. You could have coffee parties around the country. You can raise money. And that happened. We now have, out of a Facebook group, a group that's called the Coffee Party. People get together, they talk, and they actually have more activity on Facebook than the committees of the Democratic National Committee, because they're authentic. They are real. People are very angry at the inauthenticity in politics, and that goes to the president. When he was a candidate, he sounded authentic, and I think he was authentic. The minute he occupied the White House, the minute he had to govern, it became a different scenario. And now that he's on the inside, and there are a lot of insiders around him who probably should go, he's got to face the fact that he's coming up on a midterm election and a longer-term election, and there's an opportunity for leverage to force some changes he hasn't produced. And at the state level, I think we have some changes that need to be made to improve on what he's done, and we can do that in 24 states around the country with the ballot measure process. That was where Consumer Watchdog made its mark in 1988. We did a very famous insurance reform initiative that was authored by our founder, Harvey Rosenfield, and it regulated auto insurance, homeowners insurance, everything but health insurance, and it's saved a lot of money for people. There was a report last year, I think we talked about it, the Consumer Federation of America report, which saved about $62 billion for people on their auto insurance. That's what Prop 103 has, according to our report. So if we can go to the ballot box, overcome money and interest groups, we can change things. If you have a coffee party with 100,000 adherents on Facebook, and you can raise $10 from each of them, you can put a ballot measure on the ballot in a state that creates a public option to the private health insurers. That's something that can happen at the state level. And it can happen if you build your power.
Listening to you, it becomes apparent that the internet has totally changed politics in this country, but not everyone is wired.
Not everyone's wired, but increasingly, 2009 was really the growth of the social media revolution. Now Facebook gets more action in a month than all the top newspapers combined. The Huffington Post, brainchild of Arianna Huffington, she gets more action on the Huffington Post than any other newspaper except the New York Times in a given month, about 42 million visits. And it's all because there are authentic voices. There is a conversation going on. The old media, which we need to expose problems and to confront problems and to report on problems, has shriveled. However, online, people are creating their own media. It's often less credible because you don't have the facts being checked. However, when ideas fly online, when the conversation flows, when there is a really good, what we call viral moment, and someone can start a revolution. I mean, Move On started with a petition to George Bush by a woman named Joan Blades and her husband, Wes Boyd, and they started a petition, and it grew into a group of 5 million people online. People do this in their living room, and the book really teaches people what's worked and what hasn't. It may be you who has that next viral idea that forces the right person to make the right change at the right time.
But you call it a viral idea, and we normally think of viruses as being negative things.
Well, when you're trying to change the political establishment, which is largely a negative thing if you believe in public opinion, I mean, I think Congress's approval rating's under 20%. 17% support for the state legislature. The governor Schwarzenegger has an identity approval rating now, 22% to the man he recalled when he was recalled, Gray Davis. So we have to push our opinions into the political process and let politicians know they're being watched. And the internet gives us an amazing way to do it through video on YouTube or Vimeo. We get to see things and record things and change things, and we do them in creative ways. And everybody has their own little niche, and they all have their own platforms. And the key, really, I think, is to find it. You can find it online. You can find it offline. A good email is no different than that good flyer on a telephone post. It's well written, and it's directed at a target. And the book tries to teach people what works and what doesn't in changing anything.
Boy, oh boy.